Faith had spoken about doing a trip on the rurals before. We wanted to do a road trip for a while and just like to paint and go to different areas. But when Ricky from Word of Art came up with this idea of doing a trip to the Transkei, I had never been to the Transkei, so it was very interesting for me to go to that area as well. And I've traveled this country a lot, and it's been interesting to see other parts of it and see how people live.
The experience in a whole was quite something fantastic. It was a feeling that I'd had for years, finally connected to. A feeling knowing that you can go and take this art form to the most untouched places of Southern Africa and have it appreciated by people unsuspecting to this medium, people that had never been exposed to graffiti art, knowing that this art form can communicate to them.
I agreed to do the trip because I believe that painting in different environments in one's own country or just anywhere in the world really teaches you so much about yourself, teaches you about the country you live in and its people. So for me it's an experiential trip. Like painting on the streets for me is really about learning about where I am.
I think for me the highlights of the trip, man, there's been many highlights, you know. It's been really a very enlightening, mind-opening sort of trip.
I also really was quite humbled by being in Ndumbi, in the Transkei. The people there are just very humble, it's a very, I could say, rare way of life in this day and age. There's not many communities that are still living so simply, and I think it's quite profound, so I feel quite privileged to be able to see that, you know.
It was quite beautiful actually seeing these words painted in these landscapes. The experience of seeing her paint the word love at the power station, the boy hanging on the vines, was something so surreal that we all were just in that moment, and that piece affected all of us, I think, for the rest of the trip.
When I go and paint in townships or areas where you specifically stand out because you're white, you have to be quite conscious of the fact that you're an outsider coming in, and you really need to just listen and take your time and really try and relate to people. the HIV wall at the Shebeen, I think, was definitely a good idea.
Even though they understood the idea and they immediately got it, it suddenly made something, it was suddenly something very, very important to them, you know what I mean? It was very important for us to be there and to be able to say what we had to say about HIV, especially in their language, knowing what HIV does to people in rural areas, and the fact that like condoms never really get around those areas. So how do you now try and communicate these things with the people in those areas, you know?
I think if you had to do a program like that where you send artists in, go and do some community upliftment murals as well as your own work, that could be quite effective. It would also spark artistic inspiration within the communities, and the murals can really serve a message. I mean, there is a lot of drinking going on in these areas, which is quite destructive. So if you want to maybe target the Shebeens and just do like beautiful murals with a message, I think that can be quite effective in this context.
The contrast between rural and urban settings is something to look at on this trip. Not only the difference in people's reactions to what we do, but the people's attitudes towards the simplicity of life. In rural communities, they really appreciate life and nature and family and love. So you can only connect to that and the energy of that when you're an artist.
It was cool. It was a good experience. I think we all learned something. I think we all kind of grew from this experience. I hope that we did. It was good to meet like new people. It was good to paint new areas and just be in a different space, you know, where you're not expected to be anything else but who you are, you know. You don't know anybody, you don't have to act up as anything except yourself, you know. And it was just so ill to see everyone just come out as their real selves, you know, without hiding behind the city coolness and all of that, you know. It was just so ill to see how everyone relates to the nature of vibes that we came across, you know.